Hare Krishna. Thank you everybody for joining in. I see that Prabhuji is also joining in. We give him 2 minutes to join in as I do the Manglacharan. Om Ajnanatimirandasya Jnananjana Shalakaya Chakshurumilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guruve Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Stapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamayam Dadati Swapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guru Shri Yuta Padakamalam Shri Gurum Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunatam Vitam Tam Sajivan Sadvaitam Savadutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishaka Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindhu Dinabandhu Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Rishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Hari Priya Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhu Bhaivacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Srivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. Hare Krishna, everybody. Hare Krishna, Prabhuji. Dandavat Pranam. Please accept our humble obeisances on behalf of everybody who have joined the group and are about to join. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for giving your valuable time. I know it is the beginning of the day where you are, and we really appreciate your presence here on this group. Prabhuji, we are reading the Srimad Bhagavatam. We are on Canto 2, Chapter 10. Chapter 10 is the Bhagavatam, is the answers to all questions. And the text today is text 13. Prabhuji, over to you.
Thank you very much. I hope you can hear me. Can you hear me, Mataji?
Yes, we can hear you and we can see the PowerPoint as well, Prabhuji.
Okay, yeah, I'm just sharing the verse. So thank you, dear devotees, for inviting me once again to your lovely forum. It's nice to see so many familiar faces now. I think I recognize everybody except for Huawei. That's just the name of your phone. Do you know who that is? With Tushar Prabhu and Indusa, Bhaktamugo, Pregoin Prabhu, Nashon, Pramila. Thank you for joining. Okay. So we'll get started on 2:10:13. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. This canto is called The Cosmic Manifestation, reading chapter 10. Now, chapter 10 is actually called Bhagavatam is the answer to all questions. And today's verse is number 13. Eko nanatamam vichan yogatalpat samuttita viryam hiranmayam devo mayaya vyasrijatridha. Translation and purport by His Divine Grace. Yesi Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada. Srila Prabhupada ki jai. The Lord, while lying on his bed of mystic slumber, generated the seminal symbol, golden in hue, through external energy out of his desire to manifest varieties of living entities from himself alone. Purport. In the Bhagavad Gita, chapter 9, text 7 to 8, the creation and annihilation of the material world are stated as follows. Sarvani bhutani kaunteya prakritim yanti mamikam kalpakshaye punastani kalpado visrajamyaham prakritim swamavashtabhya visrajami punah punah bhutagramam imam kritsnam avasham prakritir vashat. At the end of each millennium, the creative forces, namely the material nature and the living entities who struggle in the material nature, all merge together into the transcendental body of the Lord. And again, when the Lord desires to manifest them, all of them are again displayed by the Lord. Therefore, the material nature is working under the control of the Lord. All of them under the agency of material nature and under the control of the Lord are thus repeatedly created and annihilated by the will of the Lord. As such, before the creation or manifestation of the material cosmic world, the Lord exists as total energy, Maha Samashti, and thus desiring himself to be diffused to many, he expands himself further into multi-total energy, Samashti. From the multi-total energy, he further expands himself into individuals in 3 dimensions, namely Adhyatmic, Adidaivik, and Adibhautik, as explained before Vyashti. As such, the whole creation and the creative energies are non-different and different simultaneously, because everything is an emanation from him, the Mahavishnu or Mahasamashti. Nothing of the cosmic energies is different from him. But all such expanded energies have specific functions and display as designed by the Lord, and therefore they are simultaneously different from the Lord. The living entities are also similar energy, marginal potency of the Lord, and thus they are simultaneously one and different from him. At the stage of non-manifestation, the living energies remain potent in the Lord, and when they are let loose in the cosmic manifestation, they are exhibited differently in terms of different desires under the modes of nature. Such differential manifestations of the living energies are conditional states of the living entities. The liberated living entities, however, in the Sanatana eternal manifestation, are unconditionally surrendered souls, and therefore they are not subject to the conditions of creation and annihilation. So this creation takes place by the glance of the Lord from his bedstead of mystic slumber. And thus all the universes and the Lord of the universes, Brahma, Lord of the universe, Brahma, are again and again manifested and annihilated. That's the end of the purport. Om Ajnana Timirandasya Jnana Jana Shalakaya Chaksharanmaitam Yena Tasmai Shri Guru Namaha. I offer my humble obeisances unto the lotus feet of my spiritual master, who has opened my darkened eyes and filled my heart with transcendental knowledge. I further offer my obeisances to all of you, assembled Vaishnavas. Thank you for joining. So, this particular chapter is quite difficult to follow. Maybe some of you are able to follow it very easily. But if you look at many different names and many different abstract concepts that are being thrown. Sometimes it's hard to visualize, sometimes hard to place them. So it can be very confusing. So it's good that we have Srila Prabhupada's purports, who gives us some direction into how to place these different categories of ideas that are being put forth. Okay? So remember, one of the important subjects in the Srimad Bhagavatam is this whole answering of the question, how is this material creation manifested? Why is it manifested? And it's interesting to see the details of how it's manifested, because then it kind of connects with why. And then where do we living entities fit into this whole picture? Because we find ourselves, we are very much part of this cosmic manifestation, all of us. We are part of this whole picture. And it is very important for us to know our place. When you know our place in the picture, you know our place in the world, we can answer many questions, basic fundamental questions. Why am I here? Why am I suffering? And what is my purpose in life? How can I get out of suffering? How can I find genuine happiness? What is my source? What is the missing link that is keeping me from my desire for endless joy and happiness? Why do we see people dying? I know I'll be forced to die. How is it that I have a desire to live, but I'm forced to die? And then we turn up to the Lord. My Lord, how have you built me? You built me in such a way that I have a desire to live, but I'm forced to die. These are the questions. These questions we ask when we finally come out of hiding behind the thoughts of a busy day. There's a song like that, Questions, Questions, Deep Inside, song by devotee, Srila Prabhupada disciple, where we are hiding behind the thoughts of a busy day because we think we need to be busy doing this and that, but then the big questions we're not asking. So this chapter, it does give us a big picture if we can follow the chapter. So I know you've been studying this chapter up till now, chapter 10, the second canto. It's quite a technical one, but maybe we can do a brief overview of what we've done so far in chapter 10, right? So text 1, this is a very critical verse in the whole Bhagavatam, text 1, because it gives all the topics of the Bhagavatam, the 10 topics, all of them listed in one verse. If you want to understand what is the table of contents of Bhagavatam, it is this one verse. See, 2.10.1. If you want to refer to it, this is the table of contents. What are the 10 key areas? Creation of the universe, subcreation, planetary systems, protection by the Lord, the creative impetus, the change of manus, like the Manavantaras, what is that all about? Then the science of God, very important. And then for us, returning home back to Godhead, liberation, and the summum bonum. Means the highest of the high. What is the most highest topic? It is Krishna himself and the details of Krishna's life, which is why the 10th canto is also known as the summum bonum, Latin, summum bonum, the best, highest thing, the sum total of all goodness, Krishna, and the details about Krishna. That's why this is the name of the 10th canto. So, after summarizing or listing all the topics, then Shukadeva Goswami continues. Then, okay, so now before we can talk about the transcendence of the summum bonum, let us first understand from our point of view how we can approach Krishna. So we can approach him by Vedic inference, sometimes by direct explanation, sometimes by summary explanation given by great sages. So this is Shastra. Direct explanation is the teacher who teaches us, there is Guru. And then summary by other sages, there is Sadhu. You see? So Guru, Sadhu, Shastra. These three things help us understand transcendence of the summum bonum. Help us understand the position of Krishna and the details about Krishna and our relationship with Krishna and so on. In fact, all knowledge of spirituality is done by these three channels: Shastra, Guru, Sadhu. Then text number 3. Now you'll see the sequence of how creation takes place. It's sequential. What happens first, what happens next. See? So first the elements are created. 16 elements. You know, we usually I thought there's 5 elements, but there's 16 items because there's 5 elements, right? Fire, water, land, air, sky. And if we find these to be too archaic, we can say solids, liquids, gases, space, and radiant energy. That's another translation. People like that sometimes better. It's the same thing. 5 Panchamahabhut, we call them. The 5 gross elements that we can measure. These are the measurable elements. Then there are other aspects of matter: the sound, form, taste, smell, touch. So these are the actual objects of the senses. And they are the senses that help us grasp these various objects. So eyes, ears, nose, tongue, skin, and mind. So this primary step of creation is known as sarga. Okay, so remember, there's sarga, which is creation of the universe, and there's visarga, which is subcreation. So sarga, visarga. So what is visarga? Sarga is the primary creation of these 16 items. Visarga is the resulting interaction that takes place of the modes, because then now the modes are thrown into the picture. The modes bind us, tie us in different ways, and we interact with the world through the various combinations of bondage that are given to us through the modes. So that whole interaction, the whole drama that takes place in our material lives is called visarga. So you see, these are like expanding on these 10 topics slightly. Then the science of God, or right situation for living entities obeys the laws of God. Now we're stuck in this cycle of sarga visarga. So how do we come out? What is the pathway for us? We should first understand the laws we have to follow, laws of the Lord. And then under the guidance and protection of the Supreme Lord, when we have peaceful mind, then we can do the right thing. So the Lord creates the first living beings, the Manus, and he gives them some laws for mankind. And so the impetus for activity is desire for fruitive work. It's impetus. Why are you even here? The whole point is to do some fruitive work. Fruitive work means something you will enjoy doing by exploiting material nature. That's called fruitive work. So we find ourselves in this world. The reason why we're in this world, because we asked for it. And then we find ourselves working hard for what we asked for, because that's part of the deal. So, okay, fine, we have to work hard. We enjoy, we work, we enjoy, we work. But to be peaceful while all that is going on, you have to follow certain laws. We have some crude laws of the land that we live in today, help us work together and we can enjoy somewhat. But the Manu's laws are a little bit higher, where they gradually also encourage you to turn toward the spiritual life. Then, if we are smart enough and we decide, okay, I want to understand God, the science of God. So that is another topic. The science of God describes the incarnations of the Lord and his activities with the great devotees. So this is a big part of Srimad Bhagavatam. It dives right into it in the first canto. See, the incarnation of the Lord are listed. The devotees are listed. Their interactions, stories, we start hearing them right off the bat. The first canto, and we'll hear many more stories. Okay, then he talks about the concept of liberation. where liberation is the permanent situation where the living entity comes out of this whole cycle of changeable bodies, because we ourselves are unchanging, unchangeable. So having a changeable body is a very uncomfortable, unnatural thing for us to be in. So when we come out of this bondage, which keeps us limited, then that is called liberation. And of course, coming back to the creation, who is the one that creates it? Who is the one that winds it up? That is Krishna. That's another point being answered. Then, of course, we talk about the Adhyatmic, the Adidaivic, and Adibhautic person. So this is covered in this text number 8, where Prabhupada explains in the purport that really the different demigods were given control and like oversight on these different functions, the embodiments. So that's how they're divided, you see. And all three of these above mentioned stages of living entities are interdependent. That means all the living entities have some function to perform in this cosmic creation. But ultimately, they depend on each other for certain things. But the ultimate dependency is Krishna, who is the ultimate shelter for all of us. That's text number 9. Then now we talk more in details of how the creation is starting. Okay, so we see the universal form of Mahavishnu, which came out of the causal ocean, the place of appearance for the first Purusha avatar. So Mahavishnu is the first one, the first Vishnu. Now remember, these Vishnus, their function is the creation and maintenance and destruction of cosmic material manifestation. Mahavishnu does not operate in the spiritual world in this form. The causal ocean is not created for facilitating anything in the spiritual world, although everything in one sense is spiritual, but it's there for Mahavishnu to lie down, and then the material manifestation starts taking place. Okay, so Mahavishnu is the first Vishnu, then the next Vishnu is Garbhodak. We've talked about this in the past. I'll go over it again, and then bring us closer to where we are today. Let's see what's going on. Sorry, yeah. I'm going to now share different screen. So we can kind of go over what we're talking about. Okay, just give me a second. I'm having some technical thing over here. Okay. So text number 11 highlights that the Supreme Personality of Godhead is actually a person. He's known as Narayan, and he lies down in the causal ocean. And you should know that all material, 12 is all material ingredients, activities, time, and modes, and the living entities are meant to exist only by his mercy. As soon as he does not care for them, everything becomes non-existent. And then today's verse is the Lord, while lying down in his bed of mystic slumber, generated the seminal symbol golden in hue through external energy. So now this is the point from here onwards, 13 onwards. We can see in more elaborate detail how the creation is going to take place. So as we explore this chapter further, we'll open each verse, just like opening of a petal, petals of the lotus. So now let's review. Let's go over this. Here we see in this painting, you've probably seen this. This is the cover of Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 1. Now we put this painting on that cover. The entire spiritual world is infinite. It's just endless. But it's kind of depicted over here with this glowing center lotus, which is, you can see it's glowing. So this glowing center lotus is lit up by the bodily effulgence of Krishna. And this is Krishna's planet, Goloka Vrindavan. In Krishna's planet, the pastimes of Krishna take place. And one section of that also, the pastime of Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu takes place. So you can see in this painting, there's Chaitanya Mahaprabhu also. That's also available there. And there are many, many other spiritual planets, various forms of the Supreme Lord and Vishnu. They reside and they preside over those planets. And all levels of intimacy or all levels of awe and reverence are available at different levels. Like, for example, Ayodhya is also available. There's a planet in the spiritual world where you can interact with Lord Ram eternally. See, so that rasa is there. Like that, there are many, many forms of the Lord, many incarnations that are visible here, but they have the eternal counterparts in the spiritual world who actually always stay in the spiritual world too. So that's the spiritual world. Now, in one small section of the spiritual sky, just like a small dark cloud, there is this material world. You can see the material manifestation. This is the entirety of material manifestation created for those souls who want to enjoy separately from Krishna. That is our freedom of prerogative. And this is where we wake up, we find ourselves. As babies, we wake up, we open our eyes like this and look around, where am I? This is where we are in planet Earth. Okay? Somewhere in these universes. So now, in this larger cosmic manifestation, which is known as, in this purport from today, we'll see that is known as the totality of all energy. That is the Lord himself. He's a personification of totality of all spiritual energy. So he's known as Mahasamashti in this particular context. See, in the purport, Prabhupada refers to him as Mahasamashti, and he also then clarifies that is the same as Mahavishnu. So Mahavishnu or Mahasamashti is the same. So that is this Vishnu you see over here. And he is also known as Karana Dakshaya Vishnu. Karana means the causal ocean. This is the cause of the entire different universes that come out. That's why it's called the causal. Karana. Karana means cause. Okay. Then when the Mahavishnu breathes out from each of his breaths, you get millions and trillions of such universes that look like small bubbles, but they're not small. They're very, very big. They're billions and billions of miles across. And in each one of those universes, they're like floating. They're like ping pong balls or coconuts floating on the ocean, on the causal ocean, because they came out from Vishnu. And in each coconut, another Vishnu enters, and that says Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. Garbha means like a womb. Coconut is kind of like a womb. So Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. And in that Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, we have Lakshmi Devi massaging his feet. You see, in Karana Dakshaya Vishnu, there's no Lakshmi Devi massaging his feet. So that's a little bit different. There's no navel lotus coming out of Mahavishnu. That is in Garbhodakshaya Vishnu. So I can go to this next picture over here. It's not very clear to see, but this is the spiritual world where there's Madhurya Dham, there's Vaikuntha Dham, right? Vaikuntha Lokas, Ayodhya is part of that, and this Brahma Jyoti coming from Krishna's effulgence. Then you zoom into the Karana ocean. So here, now this is the material world here. Karana ocean, there's the Mahavishnu, and from him these bubbles come out. And we zoom into one of these bubbles. See, this is one of the bubbles you zoom into. This is one universe. In this one universe, you have Garbhodakshaya Vishnu in the Garbhodak ocean. So it's another ocean. So like you can imagine, inside the coconut, there's some coconut water, half of it filled with coconut water, and then the other half is some space. So similarly, in this coconut, half of it is filled with Garbha ocean. And that's different from the Karana ocean in which this coconut is floating. So you can imagine the coconut is floating in the Karana ocean. So there's water outside. And then there's water inside the coconut. It's different. It's a coconut water. So that is the Garbhodak ocean. So that is the ocean on which Lord Vishnu, in the form of Garbhodakshaya Vishnu, he lies down. And then Let me see if I can zoom this further. This is better. Not any of this is any better. Okay, and in this Garbhodak ocean, then from his navel, you have the stem of the lotus flower. This is a very, very big stem, by the way. The entire 14 worlds, the hellish planets, the middle planets, and the upper planets, they all are situated inside this stem. And on top of this stem is the flower, and Lord Brahma sits on top there. Okay. Now, Lord Vishnu has, Lord Shiva has his own abode out here because he has his own tattva. And when it comes time to destroy, he does the dancing and everything gets destroyed here. Okay. And Lord Brahma, then he also winds up when his lifetime is over, he also dies and he goes back to Godhead. But before that, of course, he lives for 100 years, which is trillions and trillions of our years. Okay. So now you have Bhurlok, where we live. The lower planets, Atala, Vitala, Sutala, Talatal, Mahatal, Rasatal, and Patal, the lowest hellish planets. Above, we got Bhuvalok, Swargalok, Mahalok, Janalok, Tapalok, Siddhalok, Satyalok, like that. Okay. And so this is Om Bhur Bhuva Swa. So Bhur Bhuva Swa, the higher planets, like that. So we are on Bhulok. And we are fortunate on Bhulok because we have access to chant Hare Krishna, and we have just enough troubles to make it worth, to give us incentive to work hard to come out, but also not so much trouble that we cannot take up Krishna consciousness. In the lower planets, especially when we've been punished to suffer hellish punishments, everything is just so traumatic. There is very little scope for us to focus on Krishna. It's just too intense pain there. On the upper planets, everything is so nice. It's just so wonderful in terms of material comforts and pleasures. So intense and interesting that it is just complete entertainment, complete absorption, complete distraction, diversion, that we just have no time to focus on spiritual things, especially in Swargalok and some of the higher planets. Now, there are upper planets called Tapalok, Satyalok, where they actually do tapasya. They have very access to long lives and they have access to great facilities, but they use them for tapasya. And so then from there, they move on upwards. But for majority of the folks who want to enjoy in the Indralok heavenly planets, there's just too much distraction there. So even on this planet in Bhulok, we have similar situation, right? Where even here, if there's too much pain in our lives, it is very hard to focus on Krishna. If we're in a hellish situation where we're constantly being harassed, pained, abused by the local authorities, or so many problems, or maybe we just have so many bodily issues that we can't even fathom, like it's in excruciating pain every day. It is hard to focus on Krishna consciousness. Or if we just have such a privileged life, we have access to all the best facilities, and we are always surrounded by people who are encouraging us to enjoy more and more selfish things in the name of higher standard of living, and we subscribe to that, then again, we cannot call out to Krishna. We have very little incentive to improve our things, because what is there to improve? Everything is so nice. So we don't realize that we're stuck in this pattern where we don't belong here. So we cannot call out feelingly to Krishna. Queen Kunti prays also, Janma Ishvare Shuta Shri Bhi Edamana Madah Puman Neva Harti Vidatam Vai Twama Kinchana Gocharam. That those who are running after high birth, lots of wealth, great education, incredible beauty, those of us who are running after those things, and some of us may have it, some of us may not have it. But those of us who have this idea that this is what worth running after, then also we cannot call out to Krishna. And if we have it, we want more. That's another problematic mindset. Ideally, if you have it, but you have the understanding of Kunti Devi, who had everything. She had the most beautiful features. She had so much power politically. She had all the wealth in the world. She was very educated, high birth, everything. But she recognized this is not my real life. My Lord, please make me your devotee. Please make my consciousness flow to you like the Ganga flows to the ocean. So if we are fortunate to get Kunti Devi's realizations, whether or not we have access to the wealth and the beauty and the education, all that, it becomes irrelevant in that sense. So for the most part, in this Bhulok plane that we are in, most situations we can find a way to turn to God and make the best use of a bad bargain. That's why we see Krishna consciousness flourishing, even in difficult places. Like, remember in the 80s in Russia, where the devotees are being persecuted. So many devotees are in prison. Some of them died in the prison, but they never stopped chanting. So even in very harsh environments, they proved that Krishna consciousness is accessible, available, because all you need is just to chant Hare Krishna. See? So this Bhulok is blessed with the ideal setting where we have enough of what we need to focus on Krishna. See? So it is incumbent upon us to understand what the Bhagavatam is trying to say. Why is the Bhagavatam explaining this creation? To show our good fortune, to highlight it, and how to make the best use of our life. Focus on the summum bonum, who is Krishna himself. How to focus? We learn from how other devotees did. You can see how complex their lives are. So many different devotees, how complex their situations are, how much suffering some of them went through. Some of them had access to a lot of wealth. Some of them had access to power. Some of them were from like Rakshasa background, but they became devotees, or they were great devotees. Some of them were initially decent devotees, but they fell down and they become very sinful people. But then towards the end, they cleared up again, like Ajamil. Some of them were great devotees from childhood, like Prahlad Maharaj, and nothing could stop him from from reaching his success in Krishna consciousness. Some of them were born in great opulence, like Dhruv Maharaj, but he was just very dissatisfied by the way he was treated by his stepmother. Very complex situations, So we can relate to many of these complexities ourselves. We can get inspiration from Srimad Bhagavatam as we study through these stories. That nothing can hinder Krishna consciousness if we choose to. See, there's no stopping bhakti process. Bhakti is supremely independent. Of course, we want to try to make our lives as conducive to Krishna consciousness as possible. Sometimes that conduciveness doesn't necessarily have to align with comforts. Sometimes we just want to be very comfortable, but too much comforts also can soften up our will. And also the other end of the extreme end is too much austerity, where we just think of the austerity and we just focus on how much painful it is, and then we forget Krishna. Again, that's another problem. So we want to find the right balance where Krishna is the focus. He remains our focus, where despite our ups and downs in life, we find ways to appreciate his hand in our lives. We find ways to appreciate his glories and to express our gratitude to him. And the more we express our gratitude to Krishna, the more we can develop love for Krishna. Love we cannot get right away, but gratitude we can access today. See, that's the first step. If love is way up there, at least we start here. We start moving. We chant Hare Krishna. We try to live a clean life, as clean life as possible. Give up sinful activities. Try to be good to each other. Try to reduce our tendency to exploit the world, exploit other people, exploit circumstances for our selfishness. Try to share Krishna consciousness with others. And in doing so, we will also increase our own Krishna consciousness. will find happiness from day one and a sense of satisfaction. So this is the summary of Srimad Bhagavatam, what we want to do. We can certainly read up on the topics that I mentioned. You will see that they're covered throughout the entire Bhagavatam, and we'll get a sense of why these different questions came up. Ultimately, they all point to one thing, that we need to become Krishna conscious. We'll find ways and means of becoming Krishna conscious the proper way, developing the right mindset, the right attitude that is pleasing to Krishna. And you will certainly enjoy the process as you explore it. Thank you very much. Hare Krishna. So we can open it up for some questions or comments. I think we have a new member here, Sunil. Sunil Prabhu is asking where the audios and videos are uploaded. So maybe Kirtika Mataji can share the YouTube channel link, the reflective reading channel with Sunil. And thank you for joining, Sunil. Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, thank you so much for today's session. We open up to question and answers. Let's go to the group first. Are there any questions or questions or comments for Prabhuji today? I know we did the 10 topics yesterday, starting from Sarga Visarga and then coming to Ashraya all the way down. But if there are any doubts, because this, as Prabhuji mentioned, is quite complicated. Any
Hare
questions?
Krishna, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna,
Yes,
everyone. We
Hare
connect with
Krishna.
my humble obeisances, O Lord Srila Prabhupada. Thank you, Prabhuji. Thank you for such nice explanation. This Canto 2 is very, very technical. The more we learn, the more we think that we know we haven't heard all these things. Now you're just explaining all the topics. You are showing all the nice pictures of the three Vishnus. And still, for me, it's like new. Although I already have read it and know it, but I find it like something new to me. And your explanation goes a bit further to show the pictures and explain nicely, comparing which Vishnu lies where, and the example of the coconut make it perfect, Prabhuji. Thank you so much. Thank you, Prabhuji. Hare Krishna.
Yes, Hare Krishna. Thank you. Yes, sometimes we do need to use analogies to visualize what's going on. So then it's easy. And of course, these are just the high level. As you read the Bhagavatam, you'll see it gets so more detailed. But at least if you keep repeating the high level structure, then when we come across these other details, we'll know where they fit in the bigger picture. You see, and then gradually,
Yes,
understanding becomes more refined and more satisfying. And best of all is that you'll be able to then explain it to someone else. Now, sometimes maybe I wonder, why so many details? How is this relevant to my chanting, to my struggles? I mean, this is like a bit overkill in one sense. It's just so many technical terms. I mean, right now I just need to figure out how I can stay focused on performing my Krishna conscious sadhana, understanding Krishna, my relationship with him, understanding how I can improve my chanting process, understanding how I can avoid the sinful activity. This is really my main focus. So this seems to be a little bit of a lot of extra material. Now, what we're studying here is technically known as Siddhanta. Siddhanta means philosophy, philosophical truths. Siddhanta means, Siddha means is established, Anta means conclusion. So conclusive truths that have been established. That is called Siddhanta. Now, in the Chaitanya Charitamrita, Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu says, Siddhanta bolye chitte na karo alash. Iha hoite Krishna lage shuddrida manas. That when studying the Siddhanta philosophy, na karo alash, do not be lazy. Do not have any kind of laziness attitude toward a Siddhanta, studying Siddhanta. Why? Iha hoite Krishna lage shuddrida manas. Because by repeatedly studying this, our mind becomes very determined and connected deeply with Krishna. even when we struggle to understand it, that struggle brings us to Krishna. An appreciation of the depth of the philosophy that brings us closer to Krishna, because our mind, our intelligence are engaged in Krishna's service. It is no longer just a ritualistic exercise. We're really trying to understand what it's about. So we go beyond rituals. It's possible to read this Bhagavatam ritualistically. We just read it and nothing registers. Nothing, no light bulb goes on, no clicking happens. And some people do it that way too. Like you memorize, just read the Sanskrit, blah, 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 blah. It's possible, and it has some value because the sound vibrations are powerful. But if you engage in intelligence, try to understand, because that's what Prabhupada wanted us to do. He says, try to understand. So even these technical things, let's make an attempt to see the big picture, ask the right questions, try to understand, of course, with the right mood, with a mood that I want to use this knowledge to deepen my appreciation for Krishna's glory. See, then we'll find a great deal of satisfaction. And even some of these technical things will move our hearts. How wonderful is my Lord, amazing. It'll move us to tears. Not everything has to be Krishna stealing butter. Even this can move us to tears, because this is also Krishna's pastimes. There's no verse in Bhagavatam that's useless. Every verse in Bhagavatam is aimed at Krishna, aimed at uplifting our consciousness to Krishna consciousness. Even the description of hellish planets, we can appreciate the design behind Krishna's work. You can appreciate everything.
Yes, Prabhuji. Yes, Prabhuji, when we read about all this, we prepare ourselves better. But here, I would like to thank Kritika, because she is doing a good job. She's finding all you got nice devotees to come and explain in detail. I know some people who said when we started doing Bhagavatam, we skipped Canto 2 because it's too much technical issues in there. So I was a bit like, why? This is the foundation. If you don't know the foundation, where are you going from there? So yes, Prabhuji, thank you again. Thank you so much.
Yes.
Thank you.
Thank you. Yeah.
Thank
And
you.
I echo your statement. We are very appreciative of Kirtika Mataji's efforts. Thank you, Kirtika Mataji. It's appreciated by all of us doing that.
All glories to my gurus, i.e. you and Gauranga and Srila Prabhupada. Prabhuji, I have a question about the stem of the lotus. Today I learned that all of them are situated, all the patals, all the lower planets and the upper planets are situated in the stem of the lotus.
You can see how it's shown here, right? Yeah.
Yeah. So when Brahmaji went inside the stem, he could just see darkness. So he probably didn't even reach to the Swarglok part, or?
Well, those are not created at that point.
Okay. It was
that time the stem was empty. It was empty that time. Yeah. It's basically, it was a building. You can imagine like a 14-story building, but nothing has been built in there. No walls, no windows, nothing. It's just the concrete structure has been put up. Then Brahma is tasked to fill in the rooms and the wallpaper and the plumbing and the electricity, all that. So he's tasked with that. And Krishna outsources that work to Brahma. It's like his seva. He gets to do it. Krishna gives him the ingredients. He gives him the superstructure of the building. He gives him the blueprints. He gives him the intelligence, what to do. And he gives him some freedom in exercising it. And so when he's doing it, even when he's building it, he sometimes gets bewildered, and that's part of his experience. He does very unusual things also. And then he learns some lessons. Then he sees Krishna, the little boy. He learns his lesson there too. And then beautiful prayers come out from his heart that we study those prayers. So yes, this is the way the Lord chooses to accommodate our desires. And we also get to be Brahma if we want. That's we want power, we want to control. What's the point of controlling 1 or 2 countries in this world or something? Be Brahma if you want to control, get some real power, where you can, where these big demons also worshiping you, and people like Hiranyakashipu have to bow down to Brahma, So it's like, if you want power, this is what position you want. But ultimately, even that is useless. So that's why Krishna then highlights. He uses Brahma as an example in Bhagavad Gita. He says, Brahma Bhuvana Bhuvana. Look all the way from Brahma down to the lowest. These are all places of misery. All these places, Brahma's planet down to here, they all, that's nothing but misery, really. You don't belong in this circle. Indulekha Mataji has a hand up again. Please go ahead.
Yes, Prabhuji. Next to Durga Ma on the top right hand side,
Yes.
so which deity is there next to her?
There is Durga. There is Durga Devi.
Yes,
So,
but next the other one.
Yes, that is this is Vishnu. That is Sankarshan Vishnu.
Okay, thank you, Prabhuji. The
I mean,
writing is so small, I couldn't
yeah.
see it.
So, I mean, so that
you
is
so
Shira Dakshai Vishnu, who enters into every heart. That's the next
That's
Vishnu,
Paramatma.
right?
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Thank you, Prabhuji.
Yeah. And of course, we see Lord Shiva over here.
Mhm.
So, okay. Any other comments or questions?
Great.
Hare
Go ahead,
Krishna.
Chandni Mataji.
I
Yes, please
had
go
a
ahead.
question. Vaikunt and Golok Vrindavan. I know Golok Vrindavan, you can't fall down from Golok Vrindavan, but are you able to fall down from Vaikunta? And can you travel to Golok Vrindavan from Vaikunta?
It's a good question. A couple of questions. So, Krishna's planets, the entire spiritual world, people, you cannot fall in the sense that people don't fall down from there. Krishna says, Yad Gatva na nivartante tad dhamma paramam mama. That refers to the entire spiritual world, not just the Golok Vrindavan. Okay, so when we go from material world to the spiritual world, no one ever comes back. Whether it's Vaikuntha, Ayodhya, Goloka, or any of those planets, spiritual planets. Typically, so everyone has an eternal relationship with Krishna in some form or another. And that relationship with Krishna gets revealed when we become fully purified of our material coverings. And that relationship with Krishna could be with Lord Ram in Ayodhya, could be in one of the Vaikuntha planets. It's an eternal connection. It could be in Golok Vrindavan, or it could be in the Audarya Dham of Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's Navadvip Dham, which is right next to Vrindavan. It's connected. That's also the spiritual world. So it could be in any one of those. See? Or it could be cross-functional. For example, Narad Muni. Narad Muni goes everywhere. He has a relationship. He goes Golok Vrindavan. He also goes to Vaikuntha planets. He goes to Ayodhya. So his position is everywhere. He just travels. So generally speaking, we have an eternal relationship, and whatever the rasa is, which is eternal, we are placed over there. Those of us who worship Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu properly in his line, we end up in Goloka Vrindavan. Because that's the mood which he teaches to worship. Now, even among Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers, there are varieties. There's one follower by the name of Murari Gupta, who went to Ayodhya, even though he's among Chaitanya Mahaprabhu's followers. And Mahaprabhu even played a little bit of a trick on him to tease him a little bit. That, no, you should worship Krishna, he's higher. And then Murari Gupta said, okay, I'll try it. And then he tried, but he said, I can't stop worshiping Ram. I'm feeling so sad. My Lord, you gave me an order I should worship Krishna, but somehow I can't stop worshiping Ram. And Lord Chaitanya Mahaprabhu embraced him. Yes, I was just testing you, just teasing you. Of course you can't stop worshiping Ram. You are the embodiment of Hanuman. You're the incarnation of Hanumanji. So you belong to Lord Ram's lotus feet. I'm just pulling your leg here, you see. So these rasas, ultimately, they don't matter so much. What matters is our tattva, that we understand we don't belong in this world. The rasa that we are in will be revealed to us by the mercy of the Lord. We don't need to worry. One is high, one is low, any of those things. We just need to worry about coming out of our material conditioning, chanting Hare Krishna, and the Lord will take care of the other details. And once we go to the spiritual world, we don't come back, typically. If we really badly want to come back, we can. But the material world, the cycle, it does such a thorough job of convincing us and doing a purification of that desire. Nobody ever goes back to the material world. It's a very, very effective wash cycle in the washing machine, you can say. It washes us of our crazy desire to enjoy separately from Krishna. See? So that's how the whole thing works in a nutshell, you know.
Thank you, Hari Bol.
Hare Krishna.
Hare Krishna.
Govinda Prabhu, my dear friend, my obeisances.
Hare Krishna, Prabhuji, Dharma Pranam, glories to Srila Prabhupada.
Happy to see you.
I also have a question. Thank you, Prabhuji. Nice to take your darshan also. Regarding this, I have a question, Prabhuji, that as you have said, after countless lifetimes of reincarnations, some souls attain liberation and return to the spiritual realm, never to return to this material world again. Is it the case that over an infinite span of time, all souls within this material universe will eventually be liberated and return to their true home in the spiritual world? Will there be a point when the entirety of creation is liberated, or some souls are destined to remain in the cycle of birth and death, samsara?
Yes, this question was asked to Srila Prabhupada, actually. This exact question. And Srila Prabhupada said, that will not happen. Why is that? Because the number of souls that are wanting to be separate from Krishna is a very large number. It's an infinite number. It's endless. The number of souls that are liberated eternally is also an infinite number. Infinities. So you can say, but if the two infinities aren't they equal? Why is one infinity smaller than another? Actually, mathematically, there's some mathematicians who've shown they're different infinities too. Some infinities are smaller than others. I don't really know how it is, but there's pages and pages of math that describe this. That is possible. So it's hard for us to conceive. Secondly, because of the infinite nature of this, the material manifestation or the material energy will always exist. Okay. Another point to understand. Remember, Krishna says that when you go from the material world to the spiritual world, you never come back. But there are souls that want to experience the material world for the first time. They go. It's like we came from outside the material world. We were not in the material world before. We desired and we came to the material world. Now we're going back. If we follow the system properly, we go back. We go through the cycle. So that'll also be there. There'll be new entries also into this material manifestation. See, so there's that going on. And because there's infinite, endless number of souls, the existence of material energy will be endless also. So that's always going to be there. And that's how Prabhupada explains it, that you don't need to worry about it, it'll always be there. And even if it isn't there, that's fine too. But because of the nature of the infinities, it'll always be there. Besides, it's not something for us to worry about, in one sense. It's a curiosity, I understand, but it has no impact on us.
Hare Krishna Prabhuji, just one more question. Yes, Indulekha Mataji, I'll just quickly ask and then you can ask your question.
Yes, I do need to leave. I do need to leave in a couple of minutes. So yes, go
Okay,
ahead.
Prabhuji, sorry.
During a night.
But what happened when Kalki Bhagwan comes? So it's going to turn the whole place like Satyuga again, right? So will there be still this material world?
Sorry, I didn't quite catch that.
Okay, when Kalki Bhagavan comes,
Yes.
right, he will turn this material world into Satyuga, after Kal
That's
Yuga,
correct.
right?
Satya,
So
yeah.
is there still going to be this material world?
Yes. Okay. So let me explain that. So you see all those different universes, millions and trillions of universes, right? So many coconuts floating. The different universes, all of them don't have Kali Yuga necessarily at the same time. Sometimes it'll be different. It's happening Kali Yuga in this universe, but over here it's Satya Yuga, another one's Treta. You see. So each universe will have its own cycle. Now, even when Lord Kalki comes and Satya Yuga gets established, Satya Yuga is still a material yuga. It is not a spiritual world.
Oh,
It's just that people are more inclined to spirituality. Most people live very long lives. Most people everybody's very honest. Everybody lives at peace with each other. There's no fighting. It's just like very nice, conducive atmosphere. But it is still material. And then it gets degraded from that point onwards. You know, I'll give you an example. It's like you make khichdi. You just made fresh khichdi. When it's fresh, it's very nice, you know, but after if you leave it out for like 8-10 hours, it starts not so nice anymore. So that is going from Satya Yuga to Treta, and then it starts maybe smelling a little bit, that's Dwapar, and it's completely rotten, that's Kali. And then you throw it away, wrap it up, trash it, now you make a new khichdi, that's Satya Yuga again, you see. So it's
Thank
like
you. Nice analogies, coconut and khichdi. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Thank you very much for your lovely
yes.
questions and discussion. I do need to leave in about 1 minute, but I appreciate
Yes, Prabhuji, we'll end the session. Thank you very much, Prabhuji, for today's session. Let us all chant the Hare Krishna Maha Mantra once in glorification of Madan Gopal Prabhu. Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare
Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Hare
Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare.
Vanchakalpatarubhyascha kripa sindhubhyo Vaishnavibhyo namo namaha. Shri Madan Gopal ki jai.
Hare Madan Gopal Prabhuji ki jai. Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai. Thank you.
Thank you very much. Hare Bol.
Thank you very much. Thank you very much. Thank you very much.
Krishna,
Hare Krishna. Thank you very much. The Priya Govind Prabhu.
Hare Krishna, Mataji.
Hare